Now that Piccolo has convinced Chi-Chi to let Gohan stay in the wilderness to train, Piccolo's first task for him is to survive in the wilderness for 6 months, as he and Chi-Chi then take off. Up on the lookout, Kami will be watching this, as he notices that Piccolo has changed somewhat, though he is still evil, but his crude violence he had before is gone. He would also mention that maybe this change happened because Piccolo realized both his and Kami's life will end in a year. Back with Gohan, he's chased by a dinosaur, so he jumps onto a mountain to escape it, though he ends up stuck on top of the mountain as well. He eventually falls asleep, but when he wakes up, there are apples Piccolo and Chi-Chi left for him, though Piccolo swears this is the last time he'll help. When Gohan wakes up again to use the bathroom, he ends up looking at the full moon, causing him to turn into a great ape. This would shock both Piccolo and Chi-Chi as Gohan begins destroying everything, but Piccolo would remember what Raditz said about the full moon allowing Saiyans to use their true power. So, Piccolo then blows up the moon, which causes Gohan to revert to his normal self. Even though Chi-Chi protested it, Piccolo then removed Gohan's tail, but he also made him a new outfit. After that, Piccolo leaves Gohan there, as he and Chi-Chi go off to train together for the next 6 months. 6 months later, Piccolo begins training Gohan for real, though Chi-Chi helps train him as well. Of course, when it is Chi-Chi training him, her training wouldn't be as harsh as Piccolo's, but because of both training Gohan, his fighting style would be like a combination of Piccolo's and Chi-Chi's. Back in Otherworld, Goku, Roshi, and Asma reached the end of Snake Way, so they had to jump up to King Kai's planet. Since Roshi met King Kai before, the scene of Goku thinking Bubbles was King Kai wouldn't happen. King Kai would agree to train them, but on the condition that they make him laugh, which they would be able to, but Asma struggles the most with this part. After he agrees to train them, they realize that they can barely move here, which is when he mentions the gravity of this planet being 10 times Earth's gravity. He makes their first test to catch Bubbles, but they try to take off their weighted clothing to catch him, but King Kai made them put it back on since it would be better training. All of them eventually catch Bubbles, so King Kai allows them to begin their training. Back on the lookout, Kami had nothing else to teach the heroes, so he had them return to the Earth to refine their skills before the Saiyans arrived. Back with Piccolo, Chi-Chi, and Gohan, the young boy became less of a crybaby, and he started to gain control of his energy. Then back on King Kai's planet, something important might have happened with Roshi and Asmo. Asmo being around Goku, Roshi, and a deity like King Kai would have helped him continue his path of becoming good. The main thing they had to work on was his lustful side, so King Kai likely could have put a training regimen together that would help him get over this. After all, they are in Otherworld, there must be some female souls around to ensure his training helped Asmo get over these feelings. After he does get over them, they might conclude that Roshi and Asmo should merge back into one being, since they both are pure of heart now. I don't know if the merging would work the same as Kami and Piccolo merging back together, but King Kai will likely know some kind of technique that they could use to merge. Since their power was halved when they split, Roshi's power will double when they merge. Anyway, Goku and Roshi both would have been taught the Spirit Bomb in the Kaioken. Though as usual, King Kai realized he didn't factor in the time of traveling Snake Way, so by the time they reach Earth, it'll be too late, but they still start to head there as fast as they can. Before I get into the fight with the Saiyans, I'm quickly going to mention the power levels of all the fighters. Since Chi-Chi, Gohan, and Piccolo left the lookout early on, the Earthlings' powers would be the same as they usually are. So Tien, Yamcha, Krillin, Shotsu, and Yajirobe have a power level of 1,830, 1,480, 1,770, 610, 970 respectively. Then as for Piccolo, Chi-Chi, and Gohan, their power levels would be 3,900, 3,400, and 2,900 respectively. Roshi and Asmo both would have had a power level of 3,700, but since they merged, Roshi's power level would be 7,400. Finally, since Goku had both Roshi and Asmo to train with, his power level would be higher than normal, as his power level is now 9,000. The next day, the two Saiyans landed in East City, which the heroes on Earth sensed right away. Though, Nappa then destroyed the city, but Vegeta scolded them for this, since it damages the resale value of the planet. Regardless, Vegeta then used a scouter to search for the highest power levels, which he spotted 3 high powers next to each other. Since they were going straight towards Piccolo, Chi-Chi, and Gohan, the 3 heroes take off towards Paprika Wasteland. After they arrive, Krillin is the next one to show up, as he, Gohan, and Chi-Chi then make small talk. However, Piccolo cuts them off, as Vegeta and Nappa then arrive and land in front of them. After they start talking with Piccolo, they would reveal that he's a Namekian, but they wouldn't bring up the Dragon Ball since they don't know about them. Up on the lookout, Kami realizes he's an alien as well, and mentions to Mr. Popo how he has an ancestral memory of someone on his home planet making Dragon Balls. Regardless, back on the battlefield, Vegeta and Nappa would remove their scouters, so they realize the heroes can suppress their power. Vegeta then has Nappa plant the 7 seeds for the Cybermen, but before they can attack, Tien and Shotsu arrive. After they arrive, Yamcha is the next one to show up, which works out well since there are 7 of them and 7 of the Cybermen. Vegeta proposes they each fight one at a time, so Tien decides to step up first. Saiyans thought he would lose, but Tien managed to beat down the Cybermen with ease. As this Cyberman tries to get back up, Vegeta easily kills it since it was already beaten. Yamcha steps up next, as he goes blow for blow with one of the Cybermen. When it tries to grab him, he appears behind it and uses his Kamehameha to send it into the ground. As he lands to take on the other 5, the one he was just fighting gets up and grabs onto him. It then self-destructs, and after the smoke clears, Krillin goes to check his body, only to reveal that Yamcha died. Out of anger, Krillin uses his scattering bullet to try and take out the other 5 Cybermen and the Saiyans. Though he missed one of the Cybermen, but when it tries to attack, Piccolo grabs his arm and throws it into the sky, as he kills it with a mouth blast. The Saiyans then come out unscathed, as Nappa asks Vegeta if he can take all 6 on, which Vegeta allows him to. As he starts to power up, the ground begins to shake, so Shatsu tries to use his telekinesis powers on Nappa, but it doesn't affect him. Nappa starts with attacking Tien, though when he tries to block him, he punches off part of Tien's arm. He then tried killing Tien, but he jumped out of the way, though he was quickly knocked into the ground. Krillin tried to charge at Nappa, but he was easily blown back by Nappa's exploding wave. At first, Shatsu was nowhere to be found after this, but he is then seen grabbing onto Nappa's back. After using his telepathy to say goodbye to Tien, he self-destructs to take out Nappa. However, once the smoke cleared, Nappa was still floating there, relatively unscathed. The heroes then come up with a plan to attack Nappa the moment he tries to attack, since he leaves himself open. Vegeta hears this and sarcastically tells Piccolo it's a good plan, and that he hopes it works, but he should focus on Nappa or he'll miss his chance. So, when Nappa tries to attack Tien, Piccolo punches him away. Krillin then hits him towards Chi-Chi, which he hits him towards Gohan. Though Gohan checked it out and didn't blast him, so Chi-Chi, Krillin, and Piccolo tried to instead, but Nappa dodged their blasts. To try and avenge Shatsu, Tien uses his Spirit Tri-Beam against Nappa, which only damages his armor. Tien then falls to the ground, as he dies as well, which causes Krillin to scream out for Goku and Roshi to hurry and help them. Nappa decided to let Piccolo live for a little longer, so he decides to target Krillin next. However, up on the lookout, Kami tells Mr. Popa that he feels that he only has a little time left, as Piccolo is about to die. As they decide to return to the ground, since they think Nappa is accustomed to fighting in the air, he starts to charge at them. However, Vegeta tells him to stop, as he wants to ask them something. He then asks if it's Goku they kept mentioning is Kakarot. After finding out it is, he says they will wait for 3 hours. Unfortunately for the heroes, after the 3 hours pass, Goku and Roshi still aren't there. Nappa then removes his armor as he prepares to finish them off, so Piccolo comes up with a plan that Krillin will get his attention. He will grab his tail, then Chi-Chi and Gohan will hit him with all they've got. Krillin then charges at him and blasts the ground before going into the air, which distracts Nappa as Piccolo then grabs his tail. While Chi-Chi and Gohan were rushing in, Nappa calls them fools, as he then elbows Piccolo in the head, knocking him out cold. Vegeta then asks him if they really thought they wouldn't have gotten over the weakness of their tails. Nappa decided to go after Gohan next, since he was curious what Kakarot's son could do. He then kicks Gohan away and then swats him into a nearby mountain. Gohan then struggled to his feet, but before Nappa could hit him again, he is attacked by an enraged Chi-Chi. She started unleashing her own assault on Nappa, with her power having risen since Gohan being hurt angered her. He is caught off guard at first, but he soon gains his ground, as he then sends her flying as well. He then tries chasing after her, but Krillin kicks him in the head, and punches him away. When he tries to follow up for another attack, Nappa tries retaliating, but Krillin manages to dodge it. Nappa then tries attacking him again, but Krillin charges the destructive disc, so he tries to take it head on. However, Vegeta warns him to duck, so it only manages to cut his cheek. Nappa then tried blasting him, but he dodged it, though the shockwave hit him. As he then went to finish Krillin off, he was blasted in the back by Piccolo. Normally, at this time, Piccolo would sense Goku coming, but he still wasn't on Earth yet. Up in Otherworld, Goku was going slower than usual, so that Roshi could keep up with him. Even though they were close in power, Roshi's old age would still be catching up with him for running that far. Roshi's also new to flying, so it would drain his power faster than it drains Goku's, which only slows him down even more. Regardless, back on Earth, an angered Gohan charged at Nappa and kicked him in the jaw. This sent him flying into a mountain, which then collapsed, but he flew out of the rubble madder than ever. He then fires his Bomber DX at Gohan, which both Piccolo and Chi-Chi try to jump in the way of to shield the young boy. But Piccolo ended up in front of both Chi-Chi and Gohan, so he takes the brunt of the blast. The barely standing Piccolo then tells both to run, as he then collapses. Gohan, of course, still tried to tell Piccolo to hold on, as Piccolo then called it pathetic that he died saving a woman and child. After he says that they were really the only ones to talk to him, and that the time they spent together wasn't so bad, he passes away. Up on the lookout, Kami said he could die pleased now that Piccolo finally surpassed him, as he then passes away. Back at the battlefield, Neger, Chi-Chi, and Gohan turn their attention towards Nappa, as Gohan uses his Masenko, and she uses a stronger version of her Maiden's Will blast, which I guess I'll call it Matron's Will, so she's a matron instead of a maiden now. Nappa would manage to knock away their blast, but they scathe him more than what Gohan's did alone. Before Nappa could retaliate, Chi-Chi charges at him in a last-ditch effort, since if she fails, Gohan will be hurt more. or worse, killed. Though with her being worn out from using that last blast, her attacks aren't doing much to him. Eventually, he would get bored of her attempts to attack him, so he unleashes his own assault on her. However, since he is still angered, when he goes to kill her off, he would do it in a brutal way, by punching a hole through her chest. As she slumps to the ground, dead, Gohan looks on in disbelief. Though his disbelief soon turns to anger, as his anger rises higher than ever before. He would likely be crying out of both sadness and rage, but his power level doubles to 5800. Since Nappa wasn't using his full power, his power level was only at 4000, so he was being beaten back by Gohan. Around this time, Goku and Roshi arrive at King Yama's check-in station, but since Kami is dead, it's likely Mr. Popo would be the one to transport them back to the lookout. We have never seen Mr. Popo do this, so it's unknown if he can, but since in the manga Kami told Mr. Popo he was leaving things to him after he died, I'm assuming he can. Regardless, once they arrive back on Earth, they quickly leave the lookout. On their way down, they get 2 senzu beans from Korin, which they eat right away so that they go back to their full power. Goku then calls for the Flying Nimbus, which they both use to get to the battlefield so that they can save their energy. Back at the battlefield, Gohan got distracted from his assault as he picked up on Goku's power level coming towards them. Vegeta uses Scouter to confirm this, and after seeing that Goku has a power level of 5600 and there being a power level of 4600 with him, he tells Nappa to hurry and kill Gohan and Krillin. Together their power levels might be trouble for them, and he thinks seeing their corpses might shake Goku up. So Nappa goes into his full power of 7500 as he starts to pound Gohan into the ground. Eventually, the young boy shakily rises to his feet as he apologizes to Chi-Chi and Piccolo for not being able to defeat them. As Gohan collapses to the ground again, Nappa walks up to him as he prepares to crush him with his foot. Since Goku is still about a couple minutes away, Nappa does crush him, killing the young boy. Krillin watches this in disbelief, though as this quickly turns to anger, it allows him to shakily rise to his feet. He then uses a solar flare, which temporarily blinds Nappa and Vegeta. Since they can't see, he would use his chance to stall for time as he starts to knock Nappa around. He then uses the Kamehameha's power with his life force as he then fires it at Nappa, which once it hits the Saiyan, it sends dust flying in the process. Before Krillin can tell if it works, he collapses to the ground as he used the last of his energy, so he died as well. Once the dust clears and Nappa has regained his eyesight, he would be disappointed to see that Krillin died too, since that was the last of the heroes left before Goku arrived, which Goku and Roshi arrived just in time to see Krillin collapse, as they look on in shock to see that all their other friends are dead as well. However, Goku would be affected by this even more than usual, since not only did he see his best friend die, but his wife and son are dead as well. The ground would start shaking beneath Goku's feet, as it soon started to crumble beneath him, with lightning starting to strike around him and rocks floating into the air. His head started to jerk back. This is when Nappa would ask about his power level, which Vegeta would use his Scouter to see that it is 9000 or rising, as he then crushes his Scouter. Goku's hair started to spike up and it started changing between black and yellow, as the others watched on in confusion. However, Vegeta might realize that he's becoming the Super Saiyan of legend, so he would order Nappa to blast him. Vegeta uses his Gallic Gun and Nappa uses his Bomber DX to try and blast Goku, but when the dust clears, Goku is standing there unscathed. His hair is now spiked up and solid yellow in color, while his eyes are a piercing greenish blue in color. As a Super Saiyan, this would have brought Goku's power level up to 450,000. Vegeta still tries to play this off as him being the strongest Saiyan ever, but Nappa then tries to attack Goku. However, since Roshi would sense that Vegeta is the stronger of the two, he steps in the way so that Goku can take on Vegeta instead. After Roshi knocks Nappa away, Roshi and Goku would lead them to Gizzard Wasteland so that they don't kill anything during their fight. Once there, Roshi and Nappa would begin fighting, but these two are close in power, and Nappa is ever so slightly stronger than Roshi, so the two would be going blow for blow with each other, but Roshi would be receiving slightly more hits than he was landing. At the same time their fight begins, Vegeta would try talking to Goku, but he is quickly cut off with a punch to the jaw. Goku was in no mood for talking, as he started to pummel Vegeta easily. Vegeta's max power level was 18,000, so he wouldn't stand a chance against Goku. He wouldn't even be able to land any hits on Goku, as he would be outclassed in both speed and strength. Back with Roshi and Nappa, Roshi would resort to using the Kaioken, which brings his power level up to 14,800. As he starts knocking Nappa around, he ends up hitting him in the back hard enough to cripple him. However, unlike Goku in the actual series, Roshi wouldn't spare him, since he killed all their friends. So, he uses his Kamehameha, which easily kills the crippled Nappa. With Nappa now dead, Roshi would drop out of the Kaioken as he then turns his attention towards Vegeta, though he would quickly realize that Goku doesn't need his help in fighting Vegeta. Vegeta would be in a brief state of shock that Nappa was killed, but he couldn't focus on that as Goku was still pummeling him. When Vegeta does get a chance to escape, out of desperation he would rise into the air and begin to charge his Gallic Gun. In return, Goku would begin charging his Kamehameha as well. Once they both fire their blasts, they would meet in the middle briefly. However, Goku's blast would easily overpower power the Saiyan Prince's blast, with the Kamehameha overtaking the Gallic gun. It would slam into the Saiyan Prince, sending him up into space. However, it would be vaporized by this blast, thus ending the Saiyan invasion of Earth. Because of the strain of the Super Saiyan form, Goku then collapses to the ground and reverts to his base form. With the Saiyans now defeated, Roshi would help Goku up as they briefly celebrate their victory. This celebration doesn't last for long, though, as they realize they must revive their friends. Before they leave, Yajirobe would come out of hiding, as he goes with them to help gather the bodies of the heroes. After they retrieve their bodies, they take them to the lookout so that they aren't laying down there while they gather the Dragon Balls. Since Kami transferred the guardianship to Roshi, the Dragon Balls are now tied to his life instead of Kami's, so the Dragon Balls are still around. Anyway, Bulma already had the Dragon Balls gathered in case they needed them after the fight with the Saiyans. So, they would go get her and the Dragon Balls before returning to the lookout. Once there, they would wish for everyone killed by the Saiyans to be revived. Of course, this would revive everyone, except Krillin and Shotsu, as they had died once before. This is when they would begin discussing what to do about Krillin and Shotsu, which is when Mr. Popo mentioned something. He talked about how Kami said he had an ancestral memory of there being Dragon Balls on his home planet. If they can find his home planet, Namek, they might be able to use their Dragon Balls to wish Krillin and Shotsu back. The heroes would then begin discussing this plan, as they would have to find where Namek is and then find a way to get there.